Welcome to the Deep Dive, the only show that takes your stack of sources, extracts the most essential knowledge, and makes you instantly conversant in the topics that matter most.
Today, we're tackling the future of real estate. And we are looking beyond, just static pictures and maybe the odd open house.
Right. We're looking into the world of virtual and augmented reality, that promise of a kind of boundless property viewing experience.
Exactly. And when you think about VR and AR in real estate, you probably imagine the cool tech endpoint, right?
Yeah, like strapping on a headset, maybe walking through a digital twin of a house in, I don't know, Barcelona while you're sitting in your living room in Boston.
That's the vision, the ultimate promise of sort of overcoming geography.
But our source material, interestingly, it reveals a critical pivot, doesn't it?
It really does. The true transformation isn't just about the goggles, as cool as they are. It's about the deep foundational work happening right now. This boundless experience, it's only possible because of this relentless push for comprehensive data, really meticulous digital visualization, and just sheer operational efficiency that's underpinning the whole industry.
So in other words, you can't really have that seamless digital walkthrough unless the property itself, and well, every process around buying or selling it, has been robustly digitized first.
Precisely. We have to understand this digital edge before we can truly appreciate the VR experience down the line.
And that's our mission for this deep dive then. Understand that foundation.
Right. So let's maybe define the ecosystem first. We're talking about PropTech.
PropTech. Short for property technology. Sometimes you hear ReTech or RealTech too.
Yeah, same thing, basically.
Yeah.
At its core, PropTech is really driven by this massive shift. Search, analysis, transactions, moving from the physical world onto digital platforms.
And it's not just tech breakthroughs pushing this, is it? The sources mentioned other forces.
Two big ones. Globalization, buyers and sellers are often miles apart, different countries even.
Makes sense.
And second, just increasing consumer demands. People expect speed, transparency, instant access to info now.
Like in every other part of their lives.
Exactly. And what's also crucial here is who's driving this, or at least funding it. It's not just startups.
Ah, the big players, the incumbents.
Yeah, the large institutional real estate companies, they're heavily involved, often investing directly in these PropTech startups.
Which is, well, a pretty clever strategy, isn't it? Our sources really highlight this.
How so?
Well, these big firms, they use startup investment as a really efficient, kind of lower risk way to boost their own R&D.
Instead of building huge, potentially failing internal departments.
Right. They invest in dozens of external ventures, see what works, and then cherry pick the best solutions to use themselves.
So they're effectively outsourcing R&D risk while fueling the whole industry's push toward better data.
Exactly. It all comes back to data efficiency.
Absolutely. And that foundational drive for data brings us right to the core of PropTech and, let's say, Section 2. How buildings themselves are becoming these digital data centers.
Okay, let's unpack that. The digital twin combined with IoT data. This sounds like the real starting point for any future immersive stuff.
It really is. What's fascinating is the convergence, A digital twin, it's essentially a highly accurate virtual replica of a physical structure.
Like a detailed 3D blueprint.
Yeah, but more. Increasingly, it can be a model of an entire city, but just a static model. Well, that's not enough.
Okay.
It only truly comes alive when you integrate it with live sensor data from the Internet of Things, or IoT.
So not just a pretty picture, it's a dynamic, almost living model. What kind of operational data are we talking about?
This digitization, it transforms a static building into a continuous data harvester. We're talking tracking occupancy rates, energy usage, predicting maintenance needs.
Like when an HVAC unit might fail?
Exactly. Predictive maintenance, also climate control performance, security data, even material stress over time. The source material calls it harvesting a plethora of data.
And the point of all this data?
The critical output is actionable insights.
Actionable insights. Why does that matter for, say, the user or an investor looking at this building digitally?
Because it leads to hyper-optimized structures. These insights mean buildings can become safer, more secure, vastly more energy efficient, resilient.
And crucially adaptive, right?
Yes, they continuously interact, learn, and adjust systems like HVAC or lighting to create the best environment with minimal human intervention.
So, in a future virtual viewing, you're not just seeing the layout. You're potentially seeing a property with an optimized, quantifiable, operational efficiency score baked right in.
Precisely. That's the potential.
And this isn't just limited to one building. This data model scales up to city planning.
Exactly. It scales beautifully. When you implement smart city models, urban designers get this unprecedented power.
Give us an example.
Okay, say a design change is needed for a new urban district layout. These models allow designers to dramatically update and recalculate scheduling, logistics, even the exact quantities of materials needed almost instantly.
That sounds like a massive boost to efficiency, especially for public spending.
It absolutely is. When city authorities manage to unify their data and system platforms, all the stakeholders, architects, suppliers, construction crews, everyone's working from the exact same information in real time.
No more crossed wires or outdated plans.
Right. This unified data enhances economic, social, spatial efficiency across the board. The sources note it minimizes costs, cuts down time significantly, reduces material waste.
And even carbon emissions, presumably.
Yes, can even identify opportunities for massive carbon reductions.
Yeah.
It's transparency enabling efficiency, really.
And that data transparency is also what allows us to speed up transactions, right? Which you'd need for any kind of fully digital purchasing experience after, say, a VR tour.
Correct. Speed relies on valuation.
Getting that number quickly.
Exactly. Faster valuations are critical, and they heavily rely on sophisticated data tools, specifically automated valuation models, or AVMs.
Algorithms crunching sales data.
Pretty much. Leveraging vast amounts of sales data, market comparables, they give investors and asset managers timely estimates, lets them seize opportunities with more confidence.
But if we're betting the future on these high-speed AVM tools, the sources did flag a crucial limitation. How accurate are they? How widely can they be used?
Yeah, they're powerful, but definitely not a silver bullet. The source material is quite clear. AVMs are generally limited in application, mostly for homogeneous residential assets, standard houses, condos.
Not unique properties.
Less so. And crucially, they need a solid foundation of existing sales data. The AT-TOM AVM model, which was cited, needs a minimum of 15 comparable properties nearby for an accurate estimate.
How about 15 comparable properties? What does that mean for the boundless experience for, say, a unique high-end custom home? Or a commercial building?
Yeah.
Or even new luxury condos in an area without many prior sales?
Well, that's precisely where the human element, even in a highly digital world, remains essential. If a property doesn't meet that 15 comp threshold, the AVM tool's value just plummets.
So you're back to traditional appraisals.
Exactly, which inherently slows down the transaction, even if the initial viewing was instantaneous via VR. This is a really critical friction point.
High-speed viewing demands high-speed financial validation.
And right now, the validation part is playing catch-up for those unique assets. You can see it instantly, but you can't necessarily price it or finance it instantly.
That's a fantastic point. The tech gets you there, but market history dictates how fast you can actually transact. Okay, let's shift gears. Section 3, visualization. We've got the data foundation. Now, how do we present it?
Right. From the raw data to the polished presentation, whether the buyer is using AR goggles, a VR headset, or just looking at a really well-done webpage.
The goal's the same.
Exactly. Appeal immensely to the most likely buyers and help them make a rapid, confident decision.
And this is where we lean on the principles of staging and design.
Yes, and the best template we have for effective digital staging comes straight from the, frankly, strict art of physical home staging.
And the core concept there is pretty brutal, according to the sources.
It is, but effective. You are not selling your things, you are selling space.
That dictates a really ruthless approach to depersonalization and decluttering, doesn't it? The sources were incredibly specific.
Absolutely. You have to eliminate anything that pulls the potential buyer out of imagining themselves living there.
So strip all clutter, all mementos from flat surfaces, mantelpieces, windowsills, counters.
Everywhere. Kitchen islands, bathroom counters, bedside tables. Clear them.
And what counts as clutter or memento specifically? The lift was detail.
Oh, yeah. Decorative collections figurines, those ceramic puppets mentioned, dancing statues, even those little Dutch clogs from a vacation.
Even house plants. I thought plants were good.
Generally, yes, but not on these key lateral surfaces. They need to be removed from there to maximize the visual sense of expanse and flow. Keep the surfaces clear.
Okay. Beyond general clutter, there's neutralizing the space, making it appeal to everyone, especially if they're viewing remotely. What risks alienating someone?
Anything that signifies a strong personal association. Political signs, religious symbols, sports team stuff, specific school affiliations.
Even framed diplomas or awards.
Even those. No high school awards, no bowling trophies, no team pennants. These personal artifacts, they risk distracting or maybe even subtly offending a buyer. undermines the goal of making the space feel universally welcoming, aspirational.
And this principle, it even extends to the very first impression, the entrance, even in a digital walkthrough.
Vitally important. The guidance is clear. Replace any attention-seeking, brightly colored, or frankly cheap-looking plastic doormats.
Replace them with what?
A large, neutral sisal mat.
And the sources mentioned a specific trick about the mat size.
Yes, it should be oversized. Psychologically, a larger welcome mat makes the doorway itself seem larger.
Ah, clever. Adds a feeling of quality, generosity right at the start.
Exactly. Makes the space feel grander, more substantial, before you even digitally step inside.
Okay, let's move inside. Interior design principles that dictate how the digital visualization should flow. Empty space is key.
Absolutely critical. Empty spaces create a necessary change of tempo for the viewer's eye. It provides a visual break, lets you appreciate the scale of the room.
As opposed to?
A room that's overfurnished, crammed corner to corner, that just feels claustrophobic, unharmonious. You need breathing room.
And this extends to the actual placement of furniture, especially in living areas. There are some surprisingly strict rules in the sources about proportions and spacing.
Those rules are vital for creating a balanced feel, and that translates perfectly to a digital walkthrough. Makes it feel right.
Like the sofa rule.
Yeah, a sofa shouldn't exceed 2/3 of the wall it sits against. If it runs wall to wall, the room feels heavy, crowded.
And the coffee table.
Similar idea. Should be no more than 2/3 the length of the sofa it serves. Keeps things in proportion.
Beyond just looks, there's the functional geometry.
Yeah.
How you use the space.
Right. The layout has to invite interaction, conversation. You need about 12 to 16 inches of clearance between the sofa edge and the coffee table.
Not too far, not too close.
Exactly. And crucially, furniture should be arranged to allow easy conversation, ideally within a kind of notional circle, about 8.25 to 10 feet across.
Any bigger than 10 feet.
People start to feel disconnected, like they have to shout. These spatial rules ensure the digital space feels functionally comfortable, not just pretty.
We should also touch on color psychology. That influences mood in any environment, digital or physical.
Color is such a powerful emotional cue. Yellow, for instance, was specifically cited as working well in kitchens, bathrooms, sunrooms.
Brightens things up.
Yeah, and it's great for brightening north-facing rooms that don't get much direct sun. A pale butter yellow on the walls can really lift the ambience.
What about bolder colors, like orange?
Orange can be intense, yeah.
Yeah.
The advice was to use paler forms, think peach or melon, to get that sophisticated energy without it being overwhelming. It's all about balance.
Okay, so we've built the digitized property using PropTech. We know how to visualize it optimally. Now we need the buyer, the confident buyer, who might actually pull the trigger based on these digital inputs. Section 4, the informed buyer.
Right. Shifting gears to the money side. The informed buyer, especially the savvy investor type, operates with a different primary focus than maybe your typical first-time homebuyer.
Oh, so?
They focus primarily on cash flow.
Cash flow, meaning the actual money left over each month after all the bills are paid. Mortgage, taxes, insurance, operating costs.
Precisely. That's the #1 priority.
Why cash flow over appreciation? Most people buying a home hope it goes up in value.
Because appreciation is speculative. It depends on future market forces, economic conditions, neighborhood trends, things that are hard to predict accurately.
So less reliable.
Much less reliable. The savvy investor views appreciation as icing on the cake. Nice if it happens, but not the main meal. Cash flow is quantifiable now, based on current rent and known expenses. It provides immediate, predictable security.
Data-driven investors want that predictability.
Exactly. And to quickly screen for potential cash flow, they use simple rules of thumb, like the 1% rule.
Ah, yes, the 1% rule. Explain that one.
It's a quick screening tool. You just divide the expected monthly rent by the total purchase price.
Okay.
If the result is less than 1%, the property will likely not produce positive cash flow after all expenses. If it's between 1% and 2%, it probably will.
And above 2%.
Almost certainly will generate positive cash flow. It's a first filter.
Walk us through a quick example.
Sure. Say you're looking at a house priced at $300,000, and the expected monthly rent in that area is $3,000.
Okay, $3,000 divided by $300,000. That's exactly 1%.
Right. So that property passes the initial sniff test. It's worth digging deeper, doing the full due diligence.
But if the rent was only, say, $2,000...
Then $2,000 divided by $300,000 is 0.66%. That's below the 1% threshold. You know immediately positive cash flow is unlikely.
So the informed buyer can quickly discard it, save time, maybe skip that lengthy virtual tour, focus energy elsewhere.
Exactly. Efficiency in screening.
And for longer-term planning, there's another quick calculation, the Rule of 72.
Ah, the Rule of 72. Classic back-of-the-envelope calculation for estimating compound returns.
How does it work?
Super simple. It tells you approximately how many years it'll take for an investment to double in value. You just take the number 72 and divide it by the annual compounded rate of return you expect.
Okay, so if an investment returns, say, 8% per year.
You divide 72 by 8, which gives you 9. So your investment would roughly double in 9 years at an 8% annual compound return.
How does that apply strategically in real estate?
It helps shift the focus from just the purchase price to the growth rate of the investment over time. Whether it's a rental property portfolio or maybe a real estate investment trust, a REIT.
Right. It helps compare different opportunities based on growth potential, moves away from just hoping for appreciation towards more predictable modeling.
Exactly. It's about disciplined financial thinking, the hallmark of that data-confident buyer.
The sources also detailed how informed buyers navigate financing. And one big advantage, especially for those starting out, is house hacking.
Yeah, house hacking is powerful. It basically means living in the property you own, typically for at least the first year, even if it's a multi-unit building where you rent out the other units.
And why is living there so advantageous?
It fundamentally changes the financing landscape for you. Lenders view owner-occupied properties much more favorably than pure investment properties.
Meaning better loan terms, lower down payments.
Precisely. It opens up access to loan programs with very low or even no down payments that investors normally can't get.
Like FHA loans.
FHA is a big one, yeah. Allows for just 3.5% down payment in many cases. Or if the property is in a qualifying rural area, the USDA loan can sometimes allow for $0 down.
Wow. So you can use minimal personal capital to acquire an income-producing asset. That's huge leverage.
It's an incredibly powerful mechanism for building a portfolio relatively quickly, especially early on.
Now, for investors looking for diversification, maybe without the day-to-day hassle of being a landlord, the sources mentioned REITs, real estate investment trusts.
REITs are definitely compelling. They essentially let you own a piece of large-scale, income-producing real estate, kind of like owning common stocks.
So you buy shares in a company that owns, say, shopping malls or apartment complexes.
Exactly. Or office buildings, warehouses, data centers, and they typically provide pretty attractive dividend yields.
Why is that?
Because by law, REITs are required to distribute at least 90% of their taxable income back to shareholders as dividends.
Ah, okay. So good income potential.
Yeah.
What other strategic roles do they play in a portfolio?
Two main things highlighted: diversification and inflation hedging.
How so on diversification?
Well, REIT returns tend to have only a moderate correlation with the returns of other major asset classes like stocks and bonds, so adding REITs can help lower the overall risk of your portfolio.
Makes sense. And inflation hedging.
Because real estate is a tangible, physical asset like gold or other commodities, it's historically been a pretty dependable hedge against inflation. As costs go up, rents and property values often rise too. So, REITs can provide some stability and peace of mind long-term.
Okay, one last crucial piece for the informed buyer: tax strategy. Specifically, freeing up capital for more investment. The 1031 exchange seemed like the big one here.
Oh, the 1031 exchange is huge in real estate investment. It's often called a tax benefit, but it's really tax deferral.
Explain the difference.
It allows an investor to sell an investment property and defer paying capital gains taxes on the profit, provided they reinvest those proceeds into a like-kind replacement property relatively quickly.
Why is deferring the tax so powerful?
Because it lets you keep the capital that would have otherwise gone straight to the IRS and instead use that money as part of your down payment on the next potentially larger or better property.
So you're investing with pre-tax dollars, essentially.
Effectively, yes. It significantly accelerates the compounding of your wealth across your portfolio over time. If you keep doing 1031 exchanges correctly, you can potentially defer those gains almost indefinitely until you finally sell the last asset and don't reinvest.
That sounds like immense leverage.
Yeah.
But complicated. Are there strict rules?
Oh, absolutely. The IRS is very strict on the timing. You have to formally identify potential replacement properties within 45 days of selling the original one.
45 days, that's tight.
It is. And then you must actually close on the purchase of those replacement properties within 180 days total from the initial sale date.
Wow, that tight deadline requires serious efficiency, quick access to reliable data, smooth processes.
Exactly. All that PropTech groundwork we talked about earlier, the efficient data, the streamlined transactions, it becomes absolutely essential for making a 1031 exchange actually work smoothly without missing those deadlines.
Okay, so we have the digitized properties, the visualization tools to make them appealing, and the financially savvy, data-confident buyer. Now let's bring in the human element, Section 5, the modern agent. Technology is changing their role too, right?
Definitely. The sources suggest something really interesting, the actual job of just finding the deal. Sometimes that's the least important service an agent offers today.
Really? Why is that?
Well, think about it. You've got Zillow, Redfin, countless other websites and apps. The purely logistical task of finding properties for sale has become largely commoditized, automated.
So agents can't just rely on having access to listings anymore.
Not the top ones, no. This forces the best agents to shift their focus intensely onto the human-centric services. Expert communication, skilled negotiation, and just masterfully managing the entire transaction flow from start to finish.
Their job becomes less hunter and more guide and closer.
That's a great way to put it, guide and closer.
And to maintain those crucial client relationships, to be the go-to realtor, they need structure,
Yeah.
persistence. The sources mentioned a flow system.
Yes, the flow system. Top producers, they aim for relentless consistency to cut through all the noise, the media swirl, as the source called it.
How does it work?
They generally mandate a minimum of 3 touches points of contact per month with their clients and prospects,
3 touches. What form does that take?
often a combination of physical mail and email, something tangible, something digital. The key is staying top of mind consistently without being annoying or spammy.
And this consistent contact, this flow, it drives referrals, right? The lifeblood of an agent's business.
Precisely. And the sources highlight something specific. Current active customers are the absolute best source of immediate referrals.
Active customers. Why them specifically?
It's due to a fascinating neurological thing. Their reticular activating system, or RAS, is fully engaged.
The RAS, okay, unpack that a bit. What is the reticular activating system?
The RAS is basically a network of neurons in your brainstem that acts like a filter for your attention. It tunes your perception to things that are currently important or relevant to you.
Like when you decide you want to buy a specific model of car, and suddenly you start seeing that car everywhere.
Exactly. That's your RAS at work. It's filtering the world for signals related to your current focus.
Okay, I see. So an active client who's currently buying or selling a house has their RAS tuned to real estate.
Precisely. They are constantly subconsciously scanning conversations, social media feeds, even billboards for anything related to real estate. They might overhear someone at work mention meeting a bigger place or see a friend post about moving.
Because they're so deeply engaged in their own transaction.
They become hyper effective at spotting others who might be ready to enter the market. This makes their referrals often much more qualified and timely than, say, a referral from a past client who hasn't thought about real estate in years.
That really highlights the importance of communication, keeping those active clients engaged. And the sources do a sharp line between just replying to clients and truly responding.
Yeah, that's a key distinction. Most salespeople, maybe even most people, just reply. They give standard lines, boilerplate answers, maybe fire off a quick text.
But the best salespeople.
They respond. They actively listen, not just to the words, but for the underlying emotional context, the unspoken concerns. Then they craft a thoughtful response that addresses those things.
And this is where the human agent really shines, right? Where they have an edge over technology.
It's their irreplaceable advantage, empathy.
Empathy. Explain that.
Look, the internet, AI, they can handle logistics, schedule showings, generate documents, even create stunning 3D models. But they cannot express genuine empathy.
They can't hear the anxiety in a client's voice about the closing process and offer real reassurance.
Exactly. That ability to connect on a human level, to understand and validate emotions, delivered through responsive, tailored communication, that's the agent's ultimate weapon against being commoditized by tech.
And this psychological edge, this empathy, it feeds directly into negotiation, doesn't it? A critical phase, whether it's happening face-to-face or remotely via digital platforms.
Absolutely. And the first step in effective negotiation, according to the sources, is often clearing the barriers to agreement.
Focusing on the negatives first. That seems counterintuitive.
It does, but you have to understand, fears and resistance are often far more powerful drivers of behavior than positive motivators. A buyer might love the house, but if they're terrified about hidden repair costs,
That fear dominates their decision.
right. So the skilled agent works to get those fears out into the open first, diffuse their power. One tactic mentioned is labeling.
Labeling, how does that work?
You basically articulate the counterpart's fear or negative emotion for them calmly and neutrally. Something like, It sounds like you're concerned that the inspection might reveal something major we haven't budgeted for.
And what does voicing their fear achieve?
It does a couple of things. Neurologically, it can interrupt the fear response in the brain's amygdala. Psychologically, it makes the other person feel heard, understood, and validated.
Which builds trust.
Exactly. It brings the fear into a rational space where it can be discussed and potentially resolved, building trust where resistance held sway before.
The sources also mentioned an even more counterintuitive tactic. Sometimes you actually have to seek out a no, intentionally try to get them to say no.
Yeah, this is definitely a high-risk, high-reward technique. It's usually reserved for situations where the counterpart seems completely stalled, unresponsive, or maybe just passively agreeing without committing.
So you force the issue. How?
By asking a deliberately provocative or slightly ridiculous question that prompts a no. For instance, to a seller who seems reluctant, are you fundamentally against the idea of ever selling this property? Or in maybe a project management context, it seems like you actually want this entire project to fail.
Wow, that's blunt. What's the purpose?
It forces the counterpart to snap out of their passivity and actively engage. They'll almost certainly jump in immediately to correct your negative assumption.
No, of course I don't want it to fail. The issue is X, Y, and Z.
Precisely. It gets them talking, clarifying their true position and their real underlying objections or concerns. It's a fast way to cut through ambiguity and get the conversation moving productively again, even though it feels risky.
Ultimately, then, the agent's role is to be the guide in the client's journey, applying all this data, visualization, and psychological insight correctly.
That narrative perspective is critical. The agent isn't the hero of the story, the client is the hero. The agent's role is to be the wise guide, the mentor who equips the client to win.
Okay, so that means?
It means the agent needs to clarify their own message, what value do they bring, and consistently show the customer the path forward. Where is this process taking them?
Whether it's towards financial security through smart investments, or maybe landing that specific dream home they toured virtually.
Exactly. People crave clarity, a clear path. The agent needs to provide that aspirational vision and the map to get there.
And to deliver that guidance consistently and effectively, the modern agent has to ruthlessly manage their time and energy. Delegate based on the Pareto principle.
The 80-20 rule. It's absolutely non-negotiable for success in sales, especially real estate. Agents must focus their efforts on the 20% of activities that actually drive the majority of their results.
Which activities are typically in that crucial 20%?
Lead generation, active client consultations, and relationship building, negotiation, and closing deals. The direct revenue-generating activities.
So what falls into the other 80%? The necessary but non-revenue-generating tasks that must be delegated.
Pretty much everything administrative. The sources were crystal clear on this.
Like what?
All the pre-listing paperwork preparation, all the tasks involved in managing a file from the listing agreement to getting an accepted contract, and all the contract-to-close administrative work, coordinating inspections, appraisals, title work, lender communication.
All that back-end stuff.
All of it. It must be delegated to administrative staff or increasingly specialized transaction coordinators. If a sales agent is spending significant time managing files and paperwork.
They're not focusing on their 20%, they're violating the Pareto principle.
Yes, correct. They're leaving money on the table.
So the agent's core job becomes classifying leads, maybe AA, A, B, C, based on how ready they are to transact, and building follow-up systems tailored to that urgency. Stick to that sales lane.
Exactly. Focus relentlessly on those A leads ready to go now, nurture the B's and C's systematically, and let dedicated admin staff handle the complex back-end process that makes the whole thing seem smooth and seamless to the client.
Which ultimately allows that cool AR or VR viewing experience to transition smoothly into an actual efficient transaction.
That's the goal.
Okay, let's bring it all together now in our conclusion. We've seen how these different elements, the PropTech data foundation, the refined visualization techniques, the financial savvy of the informed buyer, and the efficiency of the modern human agent. They all form the essential components of this modern, potentially boundless property experience.
Right. The ability to do virtual staging or pre-sell unbuilt homes using digital twins, or enable a buyer to confidently make an offer from halfway across the world, it all rests entirely on this groundwork we've discussed.
PropTech, give the data model.
Refined visualization ensures it looks appealing and understandable.
Financial analysis gives the buyer confidence to act.
And the modern agent provides that crucial human guidance, communication, and negotiation to actually close the deal efficiently. It's an ecosystem.
And it all seems to come back to building confidence through data, doesn't it? We explored how specific metrics like the 1% rule or rule of 72 empower the individual buyer. But the sources also contained a really powerful financial insight that applies at the macro level, relating to predicting future market returns.
Ah, yes. That's a fascinating piece of data affecting investors in pretty much every sector, not just real estate. The sources highlighted that a significant portion, maybe as much as 40% of the variability in future market returns can actually be predicted.
Predicted based on what?
Based on the initial price earnings or PE, multiple of the market as a whole when the investment is made.
The PE ratio. And what's the general trend there?
Historically, the data shows investors tend to earn higher future returns when they buy into the market when overall PE multiples are relatively low.
And conversely.
When stocks, or potentially other assets, are purchased at very high PE multiples when the market is expensive relative to earnings, investors generally face lower future rates of return. It's basically about trying to filter out market hype and avoid overpaying.
Okay, so if the power of digitization, PropTech, gives us more data than ever before, and we know that informed investors, informed buyers, are always looking to filter out things that seem overvalued or hyped. This leads us perfectly into our final thought for you, the listener, to consider.
We've established that high PE multiples can signal risk, maybe lower future returns, in the stock market. Now let's translate that to the property world. With comprehensive data readily available and high-definition visualization tools like AR and VR allowing us to scrutinize every single detail of a property like never before.
What aesthetic or architectural data patterns might the next generation of truly informed real estate buyers learn to filter out? What visual cues might they start to see as signals of potential overvaluation or poor long-term value?
Consider the aesthetics of excess. The sources specifically mention the nouveau traditional architectural style that was popular in, say, the 1980s and 90s.
Right, characterized by that eclectic mix of materials, maybe overly complex roof lines, lots of ornamentation, described in the sources as excrescences.
Strong word, and noted as blatantly expressing the ostentatious and pretentious excesses of an era.
So here's the provocation. If future buyers, armed with VR tours and detailed neighborhood data analytics, learn to subconsciously or even consciously assign a lower long-term valuation effectively, a lower PE ratio, to properties exhibiting these kinds of easily digitized architectural excesses that perhaps scream short-term fashion rather than timeless quality.
How might that change future design standards? What specific visual or stylistic signals, now captured in perfect 3D fidelity by these new technologies, will the truly informed buyer start using as a negative beta point? A filter to guide their purchasing decisions and maybe even predict future depreciation risk.
What gets filtered out when everything becomes visible and quantifiable? That is definitely something worth mulling over as the real estate market continues its digital transformation. We hope this deep dive into the digital foundation of real estate leaves you not just prepared, but truly ahead of the curve.
Until next time.